in general, no, they can't control these objects. No, it's not American technology or Russian or Chinese. It predates, all of that.
For sure, the Kenneth Arnold sightings, that was really early on. That was like the early 1950s.
Right. I mean, the prophet Ezekiel writes about it in the first chapter, wheels in the sky.
Yeah, that's a crazy one.
These are spiritual phenomenon. There's no evidence they're from another planet. I mean, I think that's the that's the lie, that they're from Mars. Look, space, the atmosphere is really well monitored for defense reasons, but also because, it'd be nice to know when asteroids are coming. And there's no evidence, has never been any evidence that there are lots of these objects, these vehicles coming into our atmosphere from somewhere else, some other planet. There's no evidence of that at all. So they're from here, and they've been here for thousands of years. It's pretty clear to me that they're spiritual entities, whatever that means. They're supernatural. Supernatural means above the natural. They don't behave according to the laws of science as measured by people, and they've been here for a long time. And there's a ton of evidence they're under the ocean and under the ground. So, with that fact set, what do you conclude?
When did you start having this opinion that they were spiritual and that they've always been here?
So I just started getting a lot of information from people and meeting with people, mostly in private. Come to my house, let's talk. And I decided on the basis of what they told me, and then I talked to a lot of people about it, that actually this is really a very heavy-duty question, actually. It's not the little green men question. It's a much bigger question. And it's really bad. It's really dark. And then I stopped. Then I was like, I don't want to know anymore because it's not helping me at all as a person. And
what information did you get that made you feel like it's dark?
Well, it's so dark. Well, first of all, the deception is always bad. Lying is bad. Being a liar makes you a bad person. When you lie, you are serving evil. There's a moral quality to it that's inescapable. And so if you have lying at scale, which we have on this topic, it's inherently bad. Okay, so that's the first level. The deeper level is, okay, so if they're spiritual beings, which I believe they are, it's a binary. They're either, you're on team good or team bad. You can assign any name to it you want, but what are these things? Are they good or bad? And I think some of them are bad. And if the U.S. government knows that, then they're serving a bad force. And
well, when you say spiritual, what makes you draw that conclusion?
I mean, obviously they are. I mean, just chart their physical behavior. It doesn't, it goes outside of what we understand about physics. No visible means of propulsion, coming at indescribable speed, hitting the ocean, continuing at speeds that are impossible undersea. I mean, in other words, if I take a millimeter rounder, 7.62 by 39, at 50 yards underwater in a swimming pool, you could catch if it even makes it to you, right? So if you have a craft, any object underwater that's traveling at 500 knots as measured by sonar, right there, you're challenging our understanding of physics. What is that? How can that be? Yep.
They've tracked that? They've tracked things going 500 knots under the sea?
Yeah, really. Yeah, much faster than any object can actually go undersea. For sure. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on underwater, and there's video of these things coming out of the sky into the water and also emerging from the water.
Right.
Yeah, but then you just ask yourself, what is this actually? And, if there's been extensive knowledge of this for decades, maybe 80 years at least, if not going back to the 30s, 90 years, to what end? So there are two possible explanations, obvious explanations. The first is the one you often hear, which is this is so heavy that if the public were to know about it, it would be just disruptive. It would be too scary. You don't want to scare people for no good reason. There's nothing we can do about it. And you also don't want to suggest that, the U.S. military isn't capable of protecting the country, the homeland. And it does suggest that. If you can't control these objects in your airspace, and that's known, if they can't, that's known, okay, then that's just a limit to the power of the U.S. military, and you don't want to tell people that because then they won't believe that they're safe. I get it. But then there's a deeper level, which is okay, what's your relationship with these things? What is the U.S. government's relationship with these things? And there's evidence that there is a relationship and that it's longstanding. And that raises a lot of questions about intent. And so what is that? And people have been hurt by these things. That's a fact. That's a fact. It's a knowable fact. It's a provable fact. And I'm not saying millions of people have been by whatever these things are, but people have been, and it's known because it's working its way through the courts out of the VA. An object that is by definition supernatural, it's above the laws of nature as we understand them, and that has resulted in the people. We don't spend enough time thinking about what that adds up to. Not good, actually, not good.
How many people do you think have from these things?
I don't know.
And is it radiation sickness? Is it what's the
So
cause
the person that I talked to, I interviewed someone who was a Stanford medical school professor who's out there and worth talking to, by the way. And
You're talking about Gary Nolan?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Effectively an expert witness in these cases, so he's an expert in brain Do you know him?
Yeah.
Entirely credible person. Checks all the boxes that I care about. He's got patents, so he's like a lot of Stanford University professors. He's like independently rich. I mean, he flew to, I live in a remote place, and he flew to my place at his own expense because he wanted to tell his story. So he's got no profit motive here. He's the most highly credentialed person at the university, practically, Stanford Medical School. And he's worked on this for over 10 years, assessing the injuries to U.S. servicemen from being in close proximity to these objects or having contact with these objects. And his conclusion, as you know, because you've talked to him, is that there's some kind of energy coming off here that scrambles people's brains or them. It's not exactly radiation, at least in his telling to me. So anyway, but the point is, people have.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it does raise a lot of questions about, like, what the hell, right? What the hell? American citizens have, and you're hiding it? Why are you hiding that? Why would you hide that?